Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to the fourth day of the Cyber Science Conference. So it's raining in where I am today, which is in London, the UK. I don't know where about you, but at least it's virtual and we can all enjoy our conference without the rain. But again, we do need the rain and sun and whatever the weather is. So the theme for today is advancing social media innovation and convergence in a digital economy. And this is the first session of Thursday, June 18, 2020. And I'll be moderating the session today with Molly Brenner. The track is titled Emerging Nations and Risk Management. And the first presenter, his title is Sociotechnical Approaches to Cybersecurity in Emerging Nations, a case study in risk management for Rwanda healthcare. Presenter is Joseph Kabaka and Christopher Johnson. So welcome, Joseph, to present your work. Is Joseph there?
Joseph, you'll just need to connect your audio.
Now, if you want to try and speak again there, Joseph, your audio should be working now.
Thanks very much. I'm Joseph Kaberuka. I'm the first author presenting this work. I'm a PhD student at the University of Glasgow. I work together with Professor Chris Johnson, former head of school in the School of Computing Science. So I am pleased to present our work involving an adaptation of STAMP STP-SEC model for cybersecurity for healthcare in emerging nations. STP-SEC is a variant of STAMP for cybersecurity analysis. STAMP is a new accident causality model that has got so many safety applications, and it is based on system theory. So STPA, which is a variant of this framework, extends this STAMP methodology to include cybersecurity analysis. So we choose to use this type of tool to introduce sociotechnical analysis in this context in order to help local administrators dealing efficiently with cybersecurity problems related to sociotechnical.
If you just press on the mouse pad there, Joseph, it should let you control the screen. Now, are you able to control the screen there, Joseph? Perfect. Thank you.
So why hospital? Why healthcare?
You can use the arrow key to go back. Yes, it's working now.
Okay, so why focus on hospitals in emerging nations? Never before the healthcare industry has been so vulnerable on so many fronts. We have seen high-profile cyber attacks targeting this industry and the hospitals in particular. Research suggests that most of these threats are due to the fact that the industry might lag behind in securing its infrastructure, but also there are other reasons behind suggested in research that these hospitals in particular today are extraordinary saturated technology. So this larger set of connected environments increase a larger attack surface. So in developing nations, as it is suggested, the hospitals could easily succumb, not only succumb to these threats, but what we have seen that it is hard, it can be particularly hard for hospital administrators to maximize the benefits of innovations, advances in technologies that are taking place, and at the same time, mitigate cybersecurity risk associated with healthcare information systems. What's going on? I can't control the screen.
I'll just move to the next slide for you, Joseph. If that's not working, I'll move the slides for you.
Hi, Joseph. I'm just going to move it for you now. We can't actually get it to present, but I'm going to just do it like this, if that's okay. So you can go ahead. I'll control the slides for you. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear, but I can't control the slides. I don't know.
That's okay. I'm going to control it for you. So if you just want to...
I want the second slide.
So you want to start from the second slide, is it? Here, is it?
Yeah, now move to the next.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks very much.
No problem at all.
Background research, as we found, suggests that the root cause or the main reason behind these cyber threats in these organizations is that there is a sociotechnical vulnerability in their strategies. So the background research is really insufficient in terms of addressing these problems. We have seen from the literature social engineering and psychological manipulations of people succumb to expose their access credentials, which really increase their attack surface. So having a broader scope of socio-technical analysis in our work, as we have noticed, give really local administrative a chance to start this application of socio-technical analysis by setting up or by establishing wider commitment to a roadmap of security improvement, and thereafter come up with higher level security goals that ensuring system protection. Next. Next slide, please. So this forms a joint initiative to improve cybersecurity in healthcare in Rwandan hospital, especially of PACS, which is a picture archiving and communication system. This technology has really revolutionized radiology practice, where it serves as a central repository for all radiological imaging data. So PACS employs internet as a means of systematizing, archiving, retrieving, distributing all of this radiological imaging across systems. So our joint initiatives was to improve cybersecurity in this particular context and try to help these local hospitals identify areas of concern that might affect secure operation of their heavily invested technology. Next. So we needed to capture organization background in STAMP framework. This presents our higher level model of STAMP, and it shows scenarios that has contributed to inadequate control in this kind of organization. So the higher level hierarchical controls within STAMP framework was used to identify areas of concerns that affect secure operation of PACS. It's somehow a little bit complex, but we can see from the higher level to the lower level how components initiate controls on the lower level up to the PACS administrator, who is in charge of enforcing constraints that guarantee the security of PACS control actions. Next, please. So we developed this with hospital administrators and validate through qualitative methods. Okay, yeah, slide was gone, but it has come back. So validate through qualitative methods that guarantee reach and description of the data. However, our application of STAMP STPSEC shows that with experience that we have acquired on the ground, our use of STPSEC required considerable support to help local administrators starting up with socio-technical analysis. In other words, our application of STPSEC needed to be guided by another methodological structure that will help these local analysts identifying appropriate interventions when starting sociotechnical analysis. Next. So the analysis with STPSEC in this particular context give us benefits as it elevates the security problem. It elevates the security problem by looking at security problem as organizational perspectives rather than just guarding the system against all potential attack scenarios. So with STPSEC, it elevates a security problems by assuring system critical functions. That's the main goal. So through control relationship identified in our higher level model diagram, so we were able to identify the status of the system within the organizations, identify the vulnerabilities that could emerge. Through that control relationships between individual components, identify how control action might cause vulnerability within the system, and with stakeholders' perceptions through interviews, we were able to identify causal factors to these insecure scenarios that affect system critical function. Next. So the higher level vulnerability, that example here, is just a result of inadequate control identified through the structures governing this, governing the system within the organization. So we have seen on the higher level model diagram how individual components initiate control at the lower level until to the system itself, which is PACS. How we can analyze a hierarchically vulnerabilities that could emerge and affect this critical operation. So when individuals, local administrators started to apply this application of STPSEC with only limited experience of cybersecurity, it was critical for them to be able to justify the relevance of their findings. It is for that manner that NIST, as I said before, NIST was added to this in order to guide the application of STPSEC in the area where there are serious limitations. So this provides common reference in which sense these local administrators who apply sociotechnical analysis need later on to define high-level goals that are going to ensure system critical functions, to ensure system constraints in place, and to prevent emergent vulnerabilities. So those vulnerabilities that we have identified in our paper shows that the control relationships in our higher level control diagram should be really enforced, the constraints should be enforced between levels of the hierarchy to ensure critical secure operations of the parks. So individuals who are using the applications, who struggle to understand where to start and to understand STPSEC means, STPSEC concept, STPSEC heuristics. So NIST is added to provide this additional methodological structure for them so that they can easily interpret STPSEC concepts when analyzing these higher higher level goals for assuring system critical function. Next. So, okay, so this shows the methodology underlying this implementation of STPSEC analysis when we try to identify the control relationship vulnerability. So, as I said, inadequate control through the diagram with stamp that has revealed scenarios related to insecure control relationships between control models. So this provides to our analyst who is analyzing this functional relationship between layers of the control to identify, for instance, in this case study, we identified goals and responsibility as potential conflicts that's triggering these insecure control actions with STPSEC. So the control actions which are there, for instance, like an example provided here in this diagram, helps the analyst who wants to apply sociotechnical analysis for these cybersecurity problems to have an understanding of the type of control action. And NIST help this analyst to justify this control action and try to identify the impacts once these control actions is provided. How is it going to affect system critical function? How is it going to lead to system vulnerability? So this provides a putative or guided words when implementing STPSEC to try to examine and understand the responsibility behind each individual control action. Next. So this special project, needs special publication, needs special publications for revision. We choose it because we find it really very useful for this particular context of the case study, as it has increased focus areas. So it has increased focus area to include areas such as insider threats, cross-domain solution, secure application security, privacy controls. This has given an advantage for us to try to incorporate or integrate these controls into the modeling so that local administrators who can easily identify the control families provided by this revision and understand the meaning underlying STPSEC results. So this is improving, is provided to improve system protections. As we can see, the higher level NIST guidance might give them a starting point to address the vulnerabilities that we have identified on the ground related, for instance, like PAC secure controls. So where we identified a number of unclassified systems or generic accounts in insecure remote access session trying to access PACS networks. So by local administrators employing or including these controls into the modeling helps them to identify where to start, the meaning of the vulnerability, and give them another advantage of setting up higher level goal, assuring system critical protection. Next. So the overall, the purpose of this is to adapt STPSEC model for healthcare cybersecurity in these nations. The practice contributed to cybersecurity and risk management analysis in this particular context by giving a local administrative as a joint initiative work the capacity to identify sociotechnical characteristics that underlying their cybersecurity problem. This is a kind of additional layer that supplements their technical analysis. So it has also given reasons, it could give reasons to reasons of cybersecurity and risk management analysis for other healthcare organizations in other emerging nations who face similar limitations. That's actually the end of my presentations. We have got a little bit disruptions, but I managed to keep up. So I thank you for your presence. I open the floor for the questions. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Joe. First of all, apologies for the inconveniences that our platform posed this morning. And also to the audience, we're so sorry for the issues we had. But Joe, I think you did really well. So thank you for presenting with us. We've got a couple of questions. The first one is that it was very good presentation. Why did you choose your case study as the Rwandan healthcare?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question because we have seen the targets for these cyber threats that are globally challenging healthcare cybersecurity. And to choose Rwandan healthcare hospital, it's because we have seen that in emerging nations, it could be harder really to cope with these cyber threats with individuals, local administrators who face kind of limitations in understanding these socio-technical problems. So we choose Rwandan case study for first of all for that particular purpose as like a country for emerging nations where could easily succumb to high-profile cyber attacks that have roots in socio-technical vulnerabilities. That's one. The second is that Rwanda is like one of the emerging nations which is trying to attract the world with good investments in terms of technology and other aspects of life.
Thank you very much. We have another question. In fact, we have multiple, but because of time, we're only going to take one. The person asks that it's a nice presentation, and what would we learn from developed countries, from your emerging nations? So, for example, emerging nations use very limited resource to do most of the things they do. So what are the advice you will give or the learnings that we would take from your study to developed countries?
Yeah, that's another interesting question. So what we have learned from these emerging nations or developing nations, especially in this particular case study, in terms of cybersecurity, they are really eager to bolster their cyber defense strategies. We have seen in the case study. But even though they struggle really to cope with the demands, but you find they are very enthusiastic They are very enthusiastic about protecting their environments. I mean, their organizations, they want sustainability, they are eager to learn, and there is really a lot of aspects that we could learn from this nation, especially the enthusiasm. They are very enthusiastic about how they can really bolster their defense strategy. I'm talking about in the aspect of cybersecurity, what we have seen on the ground. So they are really good. They are really good and eager to adopt whatever it costs for them to make sure the investments that they are making in the economy are sustainable.
Thank you very much, Joseph. And with that now, we'll bid you goodbye. Please remember